Hey folks, so I'm going to have a quick chat with Arch Warhammer about Senator Hawley's political neutrality bill, the purpose of which is to remove the Section 230 of the Communications Act, the safe harbor protections in the US, from social media platforms if they fail to moderate in a particular politically neutral way. Have I got that correct, Arch?
Well, not remove, no, but amend.
Right. Okay. In what way?
The Safe Harbor Act will still be there, but to be protected under it, you must fulfill certain obligations. You must be a politically neutral platform.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. So I'm actually very very happy with that conceptual framework. The purpose of this obviously is to prevent Facebook from suddenly deciding, you know what, Paul Joseph Watson is someone we don't like, and we're going to delete his 750,000 follower Facebook account, or Tommy Robinson with 2 million followers, I think he had on Facebook. These people are just being out and out, well, the digital version of being rounded up in the street and just shot. Well, they are, and this is Joe Rogan spoke to some billionaire the other day who effectively said as much. Just the left has won the culture war, and now they're just rounding up shooting the survivors, is the way he described it. And I mean, in that regard, that's very much what's happening, in my opinion. So yeah, it's a particularly welcome thing. I would have thought that Donald Trump would be supporting this. Has he said anything about it?
Not to my knowledge, but then again, this broke very, very recently.
Right. Okay. So what are your thoughts on it then?
Honestly, I hate the fact that it has come to this because, I don't want the government to be interfering in platforms like this, but the simple fact is Silicon Valley has shown absolutely no inclination or intent to clean its own house, and so if the government are the ones who are going to have to fucking do it, then, well, I guess they're going to have to.
Yeah, because at this point they are actually ruining people's lives. I mean, they are actually. I mean, how many? Something like 1,000 YouTube accounts were deleted after Stephen Crowder just got demonetized on the say-so of Vox and on the say-so of a gaggle of journalists on Twitter, effectively. So something really has to be done. It's. There was a study done the other day that showed that out of like the top 20 or top 20 people who have been just deleted, the largest accounts were all right wingers, and it's one of those things where it's like, look, this isn't some coincidence. And Tim Pool actually did quite a good job on Joe Rogan's podcast with Jack Dorsey and the lawyer, trying to explain to them that, look, the very fact that your platform prohibits misgendering is a partisan political position. That's not something that conservatives believe. It's not within their ideology. So it's not something they consider egregious. So Twitter adopting that as the political norm for their platform is a partisan choice. So censoring someone from Twitter for misgendering someone, that's a partisan political position.
Absolutely. And I mean, this goes beyond merely the effect it has upon the individual YouTuber's life. That's bad enough.
Of course.
But we are also now in a time and place with growing radicalization, growing extremism, growing opposition on all parties, and shutting down speech at this point is the worst thing you can do. You're just forcing more people onto the fringes.
I totally agree. And what's worse is that you cut off their ways of de-radicalizing. If you're going to say, look, you can't even take part in this conversation, that means you're not even going to hear the other side of the argument or even interact with the other side as if they are people as well. And so you're going to be another step further removed from the people you already dislike. And I think that that's the kind of thing that is pushing more and more of these sort of alt-right shooter, the sort of like internet shooter types, where they've got various memes pasted on their guns and in their manifestos. And then the one the other day in Dallas, I mean, thank God he was incompetent, I suppose is the best way we can look at it. And thank God there was actually a good guy with a gun, but I don't think that he's going to be the norm. The other two were quite effective, and I doubt it'll be the end if they feel that they have no other recourse. I mean, that's the point of free speech.
Yeah, and this really should be a completely universal thing. Like, this already been presented as a bipartisan bill because the left too has been screwed by this, and it really should be. everybody should be in full agreement that yes, large platforms that wish to still receive the legal protection of the state as platforms should be neutral. That's the entire point of the legal protection afforded to platforms.
And that's a really good point as well, because it's both left and right that are affording it this kind of, well, the safe harbor protections. And it is just, and for anyone who's not sure, it essentially means that the platforms can exist. If they don't, if they didn't have this, these platforms would have been sued into oblivion decades ago, on the point of their birth, because they'd be responsible for absolutely every single thing that's uploaded to them. It's not that people would sue Alex Jones for him saying whatever he says and people sue him over it. Oh no, they'd sue YouTube. They'd sue Twitter, they'd sue Facebook. These platforms would have to pay out unbelievable amounts of money, and they're not even profitable now. So yeah, this is a very effective way of attacking them and to bring them back into line. If for some reason, well, if assuming they can get support for it, but I don't see why you wouldn't, unless you were a raging partisan.
Really, this should be universally embraced because it affords the precise same protections to you, whether you're on the left or on the right. There is no bias in this article. It states you may not discriminate against anyone based on their political party, political candidate, or political viewpoint. Full stop.
Yeah, content on ideological grounds, which is very interesting. And frankly, the purpose of free speech, that's what it's for. That's what your First Amendment is for, to prevent people from suppressing you on ideological grounds. And that's a protection against Nazis and communists. It's not that it only goes one way, like you point out. But so yeah, the guy who did this as well has also attempted to fight loot boxes as a sort of form of gambling, which they are. So it's actually this is contributing to quite a credible history of this guy's attempts in the Senate. I think it's the Senate anyway, to actually do the right thing for the people who are using the internet against those powerful people who are controlling and engineering it. He's actually on the side of the regular user, which I'm very impressed with.
He does appear to be, yeah. Like the loot box issue, I'm kind of ambivalent towards because I don't think we are at the point yet with loot boxes that we need government intervention. Because the market seems to be effective in just being like, loot box bad, stop.
True.
But with Silicon Valley, the market doesn't have the influence to deal with something like Silicon Valley. How the hell can you deal with Google? They're happy to run at a deficit just for the social engineering possibilities of YouTube.
Yeah. And the thing is that because they're part of Alphabet, they're so large. They just the size of them and the number of things, and it's not just Google or Alphabet. It's also Facebook and Instagram and all of these other platforms that own a cascading number of these other platforms. It's one of those things that you just can't get away from. And then you see them all signing up to that the thing. What was it? The Koch brothers, George Soros, and a bunch of other people who are going to be signing up to whatever anti-radicalization thing that they think they can do. That's inevitably going to make people more radical.
Yeah, they were pledging to cooperate with one another, bring the various platforms in to cooperate against extremism. Of course, they refuse to actually identify exactly what they're going to be fighting. They just want a super large network where all of these Silicon Valley giants can coordinate.
Yes, and then you have Facebook's new cryptocurrency, quote unquote. I mean,
Which should scare the shit out of everyone.
I'm no expert on cryptocurrencies, but if it's pegged to a fiat currency, as I understand it, it's not really a cryptocurrency. It actually has oversight and like a central bank in effect. It's not like Bitcoin, which actually is a cryptocurrency. Again, have I got that right? Because I'm no expert on these.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on cryptocurrency either, but like this is not a usual cryptocurrency because this is based upon the US dollar, it's based on the euro, and it has an actual central office with value behind the money. So there is a physical value somewhere, a physical promise on behalf of these companies.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's backed up by fiat money, by money the government, well, not the governments, but the banks print. So you're not getting off the grid, and essentially it looks like the establishment attempt to fill the space occupied by Bitcoin. I was watching a bunch of reports on this the other night that were saying essentially the problem is transaction fees and taxes and whatnot, and this will make the whole thing a lot more seamless, and you'll be able to transfer a lot more money very quickly. It's like, well, that's great, to the headquarters or the location that's in Switzerland, who don't allow you to go through the bank accounts of the people there, and things like this. So it's all really shady, in my opinion.
Very much so. Again, if the government fucks up, we live in democracies. You can yell at the government. You can vote them out of power. If Facebook fucks up, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, what are our options? That's the problem. And then if they're all using this global currency that they've all agreed to that's stored in Switzerland, what can you do? What are the options here? You know, they're not many, and these people will be in control of the world's finance system.
It's horrifying because this is a currency that they have complete control over, can do with whatever they want, and unless they agree to it, there's literally no government oversight.
Yeah, it's the new world order, folks.
Terrifying.
Unironically, though, it kind of is. But
right, I'd like to mention one last thing, and that is how the bill will be put into place via a commission. So the commission will be the guys responsible for figuring out which companies are worthy of the Safe Harbor Protection Act, who isn't, enforcing it, of course, figuring out breaches of it, etc. This is the weakest point of it, because, this could conceivably be filled with pure leftists or pure right-wing leading people. That's probably the primary argument against it. But the benefit is this is a governmental commission, which we will have insight into. They've already stated that if you are unhappy with their ruling, you can go to them and demand a hearing. So you can demand to sit in on those hearings.
Yeah, I remember seeing, I skimmed through it earlier, I remember seeing a bit that said about public input as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of it, because again, a corporation, you can't really affect that. It's so unbelievably difficult. But a commission like this, a governmental commission, it is far more open to actual societal pressure, which is why, even though this is a imperfect solution, it's a hell of a lot better than the one we have currently.
Well, yeah, we don't have a solution currently. That's the problem. Currently, we have a problem. And yeah, as you say, at least this is something in the way of a solution, even if it is through the imperfect tool of the government. I guess we can only hope that the God Emperor notices this and starts pushing it very, very hard.
Indeed.
Right, okay, Arch, thank you so much for joining me to talk me through all of this, because a lot of this is happening very quickly, and some of it's outside of my expertise. And I just want to say, for everyone who's wondering about the adverts, they're not mine. They're on the site that I'm using. They're hard-coded in. They're not anything to do with analytics.